Broadcasting from the Merritt Hall Studios out of Carson City, Nevada. You're listening to Covering the Field with Big Richard Martin, Gator Gates, and Joe the Answer Ellison.
Welcome to Covering the Field. I'm Joe Ellison, and with me today are my hardworking colleagues, Big Richard Martin and Gator Gates. Gentlemen, let's start off as we always do this time of year with football. Big Rich, what happened during week 15 in the National Football League?
Well, I think we just have to start, Joe, with the terrible news today in the happiest time of the year. Franco Harris dies today, passed away at the age of 72. I mean, for all of us growing up watching the Pittsburgh Steelers dynasty of the 70s. Sorry about your Cowboys,
didn't like that.
Didn't like that, but I mean, it's just such a part of history. He was a four-time Super Bowl champion. He was the MVP of Super Bowl IX. He had 12,000 rushing yards, 307 receptions, 100 touchdowns, and 9 Pro Bowl appearances. What a great football legend. Sad day for us. Mm-hmm. But with the Franco Harris, I'm going to give you guys your sink or swims on Franco Harris today.
This okay. Pittsburgh Steelers running back.
Yes. You know, he was born in Fort Dix, New Jersey. And sink or swim, he went to Rutgers College.
Right. Franco Harris, see, I should remember him in college, and I don't think he went to Rutgers. I'm pretty sure he went somewhere else. So I'm going to say sink on that one.
I was going to say swim right away.
Well, he went to Penn State, gentlemen.
Yeah,
so I'm telling you, it was good. Good job, Joe. The answer again. Got you, Gator. Got you, Gator. But I'm going to give you this last multiple choice since that one was pretty rough. He played for 2 NFL teams. One was, of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he retired with the San Francisco 49ers, Seattle Seahawks, New York Jets, or Miami.
Well, I remember this because, you know, he was such a big player back then, Pittsburgh Steelers. He played for the Seattle Seahawks.
You're exactly right, Joe. Good job. Joe, the answer, again, gets it correct.
Hey.
Yeah. But sad news in the NFL for sure. Franco Harris, I mean, the 50th year of the Immaculate Reception.
Yeah.
They're supposed to have the big celebration Christmas Eve, and he's not. This is going to be a little different now.
Different.
So sadly.
Okay, so we talk about a miracle. Let's go to the NFL week of the Raiders. Up by double digits again, right? How many times have they lost double digits? 3 at least. The Raiders blow another double-digit lead. With 32 seconds left, Derek Carr goes to his 4th option on the receiver chart. Keelan Cole makes a great catch with 30 seconds left. So what does Bill Belichick do, Joe? You should kneel it to go to overtime, or should you throw the bomb and hope for the best?
Oh, I'm all for kneeling it.
And going.
If you can't throw a Hail Mary, just kneel on it.
Just kneel on it. Matt Patricia, the offensive coordinator, God knows why, runs the draw play to Ramaj Stevenson, who laterals it back to Jacoby Myers, who laterals it back to the wrong Jones, not Mac Jones, but Chandler Jones.
Right.
He plants Mac Jones into the ground and runs in for what we can call the Sin City Miracle. We can call it was the first day of Hanukkah. Can we call it the Hanukkah hiccup?
Oh, there you go.
Or how about the Belichick blunder?
I like that better. That's even better.
I'll go with that.
All of those are appropriate.
Well, on that play, you guys, Jones for the Raiders, he was on the when he was on the field, the symbol for the Raiders, his black was matched with the black of the Raiders. So in his defense, when he threw that ball, I don't think he saw him at all because I thought that he blinked.
How could you not see a 250-pound linebacker? And why would you throw it that way anyway?
If you look, he was standing right on the logo, and with that black jersey with the black. If you were in that kind of,
so you're saying it's a Batman? It's a Batman reason you couldn't see him.
I'm just giving him a little an out.
Okay.
Yeah, giving him a slight excuse.
Yes,
that's 1% excuse. So that was very kind of you.
Yes,
but it was. If you're in that situation, you look over and you see white, you're gonna throw it. But when you see camouflage, the guy's gonna grab it.
You're being very, very generous, Gabe.
Especially for all of those who had New England minus a point, thinking they had a chance in overtime.
Well, what about that lateral? So who's Mac Jones going to lateral it to? Everybody else is already way down the field. Somebody's going to have to run about 10, 15 yards backwards to get the next
and then
lateral.
get your quarterback smacked, so
So
there was
that-
no logical reason.
I had no chance. Throwing it there was obviously not the place to throw it.
But all of us who have seen the 7 Super Bowls or 6 Super Bowls of the Patriots, we sure didn't mind seeing that happen to Belichick and see his happy face after the game.
Yeah, my bet definitely was not a happy.
It was not a happy face. You were cussing in the casino.
That was a
not-
bad.
I was-
That was a bad beat for the books, though. The Vegas winning that game. That was
Sure.
a bad beat.
And all the people that left. I mean, they were heading out. I mean, just another Derek Carr, mistake.
Yeah.
And
there could be a You Got Hosed preview in that. There's actually more to that story, but
Okay.
we will get into that later.
okay, so what an impossible week we had in the NFL. The Vikings on Saturday, 33 points. Looks like they're laying the biggest egg. Those poor fans in Minnesota had nothing to cheer about. They were down 36-3.
33-0 at halftime.
33-0. And why can't you just run the clock out? I mean, I don't think it's almost impossible to lose that game.
If they ran the ball every time, they would have won that game.
Right.
Yeah,
With
at that
33-point lead.
Yeah.
Well, 33 is not a good number for Indy this year. That's for sure. They led 33-0 and blew that game. And they gave up 33 points to Dallas in the fourth quarter in that one game. And, that's that game Saturday, the largest comeback in NFL history. Never has anybody come back from 33 points down.
Since the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Oilers playoff game. I think it had the other record.
Yeah, and the largest comeback in Super Bowl history. Somebody is connected to that game and this one, Matt Ryan.
Oh,
That's right.
Another blunder. So what is he? The word is he's not even starting this week. Is that correct, Joe?
I think he's emotionally distraught at this point.
Yes.
He can't handle all the pressure, and it's time to sit him down.
So you're sending Matt Ryan out to the pasture.
He's done. I think he's not going to be on the Colts next year either.
Right.
But the game I was alluding to was when New England came back from a 20-3 deficit against Atlanta.
Yes,
Ryan
Super
was a
Bowl.
quarterback
Yes.
in Atlanta.
Tom Terrific was terrific.
Biggest Super Bowl and regular season comebacks.
Well, speaking of Tom Terrific,
How about him?
well, why don't you give me some stuff what happened to him today against Cool Joe Burrow?
Well, Brady was 89-0 at home, up by 17 points, but 17 points wasn't enough because Cincinnati outscored them 34-6 the rest of the game and came back and just
What
dominated.
a second quarter. I mean, I had the Cincinnati, had them on the picks on the show, had it on my card. I was very distraught thinking, what is this? It's the Tampa Bay of 2 years ago. And they played a perfect half.
Right.
And then they played the whole third quarter on the one side of the field and never got past the 50.
It looked like 4 turnovers, if I counted right.
You did count right.
Tampa Bay. So
And that was 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles. And Tom Terrific was responsible.
Yep, that's a bad finish for them. But Cincinnati, I mean, they just ignored how badly they were playing and just
Doesn't it show
turned
you
it on.
how
And
Joe Cool can be so cool?
they are that good.
They are that good.
That's right.
I didn't like that. Brady said that is when the quarterback position gives up the ball that many times, Brady will not admit that it was him. Have you ever noticed that?
Well, he didn't say himself, but
No,
it's
but-
pretty obvious he was talking about himself.
He can't say Tom in a bad way, I
He
guess.
can-
Anyway, I think Giselle might, but I don't think.
He's not talking third person like an NBA player.
Yeah, but
Okay.
he's got to admit to himself that he's messing up.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
okay. He's just one guy, but yes, he admitted that he
Yeah.
was, he made some mistakes.
Okay.
So how are you
Roundabout
How are you?
way.
Hey Gator, how are you giving this dude, the idiot that threw it backwards, a little bit of pass, and you're all
Because
over Tom
when I-
Terrific?
Oh, well, Tom.
Maybe the
well,
defensive team might have been incognito.
We put Tom on a different pedestal, right? Because he's the GOAT.
He
So
is the
even in
GOAT.
his worst, he's still better than Matt Ryan, no? Is he still better than Mariota?
Oh, he's not even right now.
You see
He's not
where
a
I'm
top
going?
10 quarterback right
Okay,
now.
right. So we always put him on this big pedestal.
Well, after
He's
7
getting old.
Super Bowl rings, I mean, you should be old.
And he's getting old.
45 years old.
All right.
So,
Let's move on to the 49ers.
okay.
They clinch the West. Just like we predicted on the show, they would win. They would cover the spread. 49ers look dominant right now in defense. And,
like
Brock Purdy looks I just loved his interview afterwards when they were interviewing him, and they showed you like the confidence this kid has, and he expects to win. And he kind of reminds me a little bit of a Tom Brady. Tom Brady was picked in the 6th round, and he was picked in the 7th.
It'd be good to see him play somebody really good because they haven't played anybody good since he's been on the field. Just saying.
All right. Well, I think Miami's a pretty good team. They gave the Buffalo Bills a run for their money, don't you think? That in Buffalo, when they said there was not a chance Tua can't play in the snow, I thought they ran the ball very well and they played a solid game.
It did not start snowing until the 4th quarter.
I know. And that's
I'll
Yeah,
give him
it
credit
helps a
for the
lot.
Miami game then.
okay.
Good enough.
Okay, good enough. But there was an 11-point comeback by Josh Allen. He threw 4 touchdowns.
Uh-huh.
He had a great game. That was another great. I think it was just Saturday except for the Ravens game. Saturday was great football.
Yeah, you're right. Miami did play good in that cold. I was surprised they hung toe to toe with them, and could have easily won that game.
They could have easily won the game. They had a big lead, and they should have just they've established a run, which you need to do to win in the NFL and the postseason. So that's a good sign. If those of you have Miami on your Super Bowl futures, I think that was a good sign that they might be able to do something. But if you have the Titans or the Ravens, you can't be thinking very good because they're falling faster than the crypto stock.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't believe how bad they played, both teams. And then that's 3 straight losses from the Titans. And the Ravens, I mean, how many turnovers did Huntley have? It just looked like they wanted to lose. They were playing to lose or something. I don't know. They looked horrible.
Yeah.
And Detroit, 6 out of 7 now.
The Lions are roaring. Another victory, 6 out of 7. Like you said, they were 1-6, and now they're 7-7. They had a 1.6% chance to make the playoffs when they were 1-6. Should have took some money on that one, maybe, if you had it. Nobody was going around, but Uncle Mike, he has them at 125-1 with $50 riding on that. So that'll be a good $6,000 payday if they could just continue this streak.
Yeah. And when they were 1-6, they were higher than that.
I guarantee you they were.
Yeah. New York Giants won at Washington. What do you think about that officiating at the end of that game?
Oh, man. And I thought they would go over, and they play such bland football. It was a normal NFC East, knock them out type of game. And the officiator just swallowed his whistle and didn't throw the flag. And it was obviously pass interference.
Defense pass interference on any other part of the time of the game or anywhere. That's pass interference.
It's still a penalty.
At the very end of the game, apparently.
Well, we do like to let him play, but you can't tackle the guy. I mean, you grab both of his arms, you can't catch the ball. You had a completely pair up.
Yeah. Jacksonville beat Dallas 40-34. Dallas did have a 17-point lead in that game. They did throw the ball on 3rd down at the end of that game, leaving that one timeout left for Jacksonville. And that's Kellen Moore, who got criticism for that.
Right.
But it also took a fluke bounce. Noah Brown should have caught that ball. That bounced to the Jacksonville defender who ran it back for a touchdown.
What about Trevor Lawrence, though? I mean, can we just talk something about how great he's coming around? I mean, that's 3 second-half comebacks this year. 3 of their 6 wins. He's brought him back in the second half. He's great leadership. Did you see the fumble that he had, though, going in there? I mean, he was – with 3 minutes left, they were going down to tie the game or take the lead. And instead of sliding, he took a helmet right to the ball. And it looked like Dallas had it at that point. Yes. And then came back when they shouldn't have never thrown the ball, run the clock out, don't give him any time.
Well, with good coaching, suddenly he's a good player.
Right. Well, that's great. And you hear that, was that Doug Peterson you're talking about? Well, what about Doug Peterson was given from the Philadelphia Eagles organization? They sent over 35 Philly cheesesteaks, thanking them for giving the NFC East the title and coming back. So that was a great gesture, I thought.
Yeah, that is.
2 more games I just want to mention. Kansas City struggled at Houston. Houston is playing better, obviously. Winning 30-24.
They're the best 1-12-1 team I think I've ever seen. Their record shows that they're horrible, but it seems like they're a backdoor cover team every week.
And Philadelphia, as you said, they won 25-20 at Chicago, almost clinching the division, but just about clinch that division.
Did you see
lose all three?
Justin Fields run in that game? I mean, he was totally sacked in the back and made a Superman type of run. It looked like amazing, and he stepped out of bounds where he would have scored the touchdown. But I mean, that kid's got some athletic ability, and
he looks amazing.
And I think that if you're a Chicago Bears fan, you're not going to the playoffs, but you still have something to look forward to. You got some draft picks coming up, and you can build your team.
Yeah. So on paper, it looked like kind of a ho-hum weekend coming in, but 12 of those 16 games were decided by one score, and we had some pretty exciting games.
Yeah, Saturday was great.
In the NFC now, looking at the playoff picture, Philadelphia, Minnesota, and San Francisco have clinched their divisions. Dallas, although, even with that loss, they clinched a playoff spot. It'll most likely be the wild card, of course.
Yes.
And they'll most likely be playing in the winner of the Tampa Bay's division.
If we can find a winner in that division, if they're all losers, but
right.
I think that Dallas is not looking too scared of going up there playing in Tampa Bay right now.
Probably not. And New York Giants have an 88% chance of making it. Tampa Bay has a 73% chance of making it because of their division, of course.
Right.
The AFC, Kansas City has clinched their division. Buffalo has clinched a playoff spot. Cincinnati is 99%, Baltimore 98%, and the Chargers 80% of making the playoffs.
So what about the Titans? They can still lose out to the Jags if they're 2 games behind. They're a game behind. And they play each other in week 16.
Yeah, their chances are going lower and lower by the game, by the minute. So 6 teams in the AFC and 6 teams in the NFC are above 500. At this time of year, you would expect a little better. So, Big Rich, what is the latest player and injury news?
Well, we have to go definitely to Jonathan Taylor. Injured his ankle. It's like you got hosed moment if you had him on your fantasy football team because he only got you 2 fantasy points where projected 25.
He didn't get you much all year, and he was probably the first pick in most drafts.
Yes. And that just seems like when you take the first pick, they always usually don't work out. Something happens. Well, Christian McCaffrey has done it multiple years being the first pick. And now
just
he's
pick
going.
Derrick Henry is my advice.
Joe, you hedge on everything. You even hedge on fantasy football. How do you hedge on your first round pick of fantasy football?
That's who I picked. I had the first pick in the draft. I took Derrick Henry. He doesn't get hurt.
Nope.
Well, he did last year.
Yes, he hurt his foot.
So anyway, I guess Nick Foles will be starting for Indianapolis also this week.
So also on the injured reserves, Matt Ryan's egos and his confidence is definitely on the injured reserve.
Well, Hurts got hurt.
Jalen Hurts, yes. And was it Cornelius? Was it his right or left shoulder? It was right shoulder. Right shoulder.
Well, he's a lefty, right? So
no, he's right in the throat.
Oh, yes. I'm mixing him up with Tua. So okay, that's good. I mean, that's good for Cowboys fans and not good for Philly fans.
So Jalen Hurts doesn't look like he's going to be able to go. Gardner Minshew from is going to start this game. Looks like, but he missed Tuesday's practice because he was at the his coach's
Mike Leach.
He played for him at Washington State,
right?
So he went to his funeral. He was one of his coaches.
Dallas Goedert returns for Philly. That's a bonus. Yes, help him out.
So Minshew with his freaky little mustache is going to be playing for the Eagles this week.
He could be starting on some teams, so he's actually a pretty decent quarterback.
Yeah, I think pretty decent. But another injury was McCoy from the Arizona, the quarterback.
Concussion
protocol. So they went to their 3rd string quarterback.
Trace McSorley.
Yes. And
had to look that one up.
Yes. That would be a good trivia question there because where is he from?
Well, Penn State again.
Penn State again. Yeah. Okay.
That seems to be the answer.
So anyway, he did throw a touchdown in the 4th quarter against the Broncos, but the Broncos, they finally went over. They went over again and they won. So the Broncos, with their backup quarterback, Russell Wilson looks like he's a go this week, but they went with Ripken last week.
Well, they look better without him. Sad to say. They scored 24 points, and that hosed one of my picks because I was so sure it was going to go under. Next thing you know, the Broncos scored 24 points. Yeah, that wasn't.
We had that on our show too, Joe. We all had Denver on the end. I think we all did.
That was unfortunate.
It was unfortunate circumstance.
Yeah. So other injuries, Zach Wilson will start again for the Jets, and they didn't look nearly as good as they did with White, losing to Detroit. Leighton Vander Esch, Dallas's leading tackler, is out. Yes. Calais Campbell is out for Baltimore. Greg Robinson is done for the season, the guard for Jacksonville.
Okay.
Bears have some good news. Khalil Herbert returns, and Chase Claypool and N'Keal Harry possibly could return and help their offense.
And they moved the Dallas Cowboy tackle to the other side, right? Williams, the backup that was playing, Williams was hurt. And then
Tyron Smith came back. Right?
Yes. So that should be helpful. That should be helpful.
Well, it's time to look at our weekly betting trends. Last week, the dogs were barking again, 10 underdogs and 6 favorites. 5 dogs won straight up, 7 road teams won straight up. The first 7 on the sheet Sunday, all the dogs covered. Of course, the Washington game was moved to the bottom, but on the sheet, it was right at the top.
So,
yeah, that was the way to go.
It was a dog weekend for sure.
In the afternoon, you needed the favorites. 3-0-1 against the spread on the favorites in the afternoon. So,
seems to be a trend. Seeing the trend there. Dogs in the morning, favorites in the night, in the evening games, afternoon games.
Certainly was last week. There were 8 overs and 8 unders through week 15. That's 128 dogs, 96 favorites.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. 78 dogs won straight up, 95 road teams won straight
build
up.
more and more in Vegas as the dogs continue to win because the books win.
That's right.
Ain't that right, Gator? When the dogs win,
they actually win better when the favorites do not cover.
Oh, okay.
They win but not cover.
Yes,
correct.
That makes sense because people will take the money line on the dogs.
Yes.
All right. Well, 104 games have been decided by a touchdown or less. That's the most ever to begin a season through week 15 in history. 56 game-winning scores in the final 2 minutes or overtime. That's the second most in history. So we've had some pretty exciting games, just what the NFL wanted, parity.
I think that's what everybody wants, except for
unless you're a better.
Unless you're a better, because it's very difficult to pick. It's very difficult to pick. But my picks were 4-2 last week, so I was pretty proud of that.
Not very good. As far as the totals are concerned, 123 unders, 101 overs over the season. Division 45 unders and 28 overs. So best teams to bet on point spread wise this year: Cincinnati 11-3 against the spread. The New York Giants and Detroit 10-4, San Francisco and the Chargers 9-5, Tennessee 8-6, but I believe they were like 8-2 at one point.
Yeah. What about anything about the Texans? I bet you they're pretty good too.
They are middle of the road, I guess.
Okay.
Really?
Because the teams to bet against are Tampa Bay and the Rams, 4-10 against the spread. Kansas City and New Orleans 5-9. Everybody else is like in between. So
wow,
7-7 maybe for Houston.
Yes.
Well, they started off so poorly.
It seems like they're a backdoor cover team, but for 7-7, but when you're 1-12, I mean, 7-7 against the spread shows that over half the time they cover still.
Right. So we once again thank Butch the Rain Man Roberts for those stats.
Awesome stats.
So
stuff to look at. When will we start looking at it and betting it? That's my question.
Betting?
That's what we should have been doing.
4-2. You said you did last week?
Yes.
What are your point spread picks for week 16?
Okay. I'm going to start with Thursday. We have the Jets and the Jags. I'm going to say the Jets beat the Jags.
No.
I'm going to say the Jets beat the Jags. I think that, Wilson, sometimes Zach Wilson looks really good. And sometimes he looks like a rookie making mistakes. But, I mean, he has a strong arm. He definitely has some great receivers. Wilson.
And they will be at home.
And they will be at home. And I love that. I'm going to bet on the coach. I really like Robert Slay. And I think, when he lost to Buffalo, he says, we'll beat him again in the playoffs. I just love his confidence. I love the way he's saying he's holding everybody receipts on everybody that sells the Jets out. He's going to hold those receipts and give them back to him. So I'm gonna go with Robert Slay and the Jets. I know it's a tough pick. I like the Bengals -3 against the Patriots. That's a deflating loss. Belichick. I mean, I'm surprised that there wasn't a firing after that. Jacoby Myers throw. I mean, you remember when he had Gary, the running backs? He had 4 touchdowns, and the next day he was late for a meeting, and he kind of like Belichick is no nonsense, and I'm sure he did not appreciate that type of football being played. Okay, the 49ers at home. I like them this week. They're -7.
Against
Washington, yes. That defense, I mean, they do run the ball very well in Washington. I think that Ricky Robinson is a very good running back. I think they do run the ball well. But I think the 49ers
But the Niners have the number one run defense, right?
Defense, so exactly.
Counteract that.
Sure. And did you hear about the prank they played on the the 49ers played on their rookies. They had their annual, you have to take everybody out to dinner.
Yes.
And it was a $300,000 meal.
That would just give you a heart attack.
But it was a joke. It was a prank. They had a prank going on.
Oh,
it was about a $6,000 meal. And then they said the veterans paid half of it. So, I mean, some of those kids are only making $1 million a year. You can't be buying a $600,000, steak dinner, when you're making that kind of money. But it was all a joke. And it was, I thought that was good camaraderie. The 49ers are great. All right. I like the Steelers -2.5 over the Raiders. Unless the Steelers start throwing the ball, backwards, I don't think that the Steelers are playing very good defense right now. They held the Carolina team down to what was it, like 14 points, and how well they ran the ball against Seattle the week before. I thought the Panthers were going to play better, and the Steelers defense is playing good right now. They're getting Kenny Pickett back, and I like the Steelers -2.5. Okay. Are you okay with that? Or are we
yeah, well, I'm going to get into my picks.
Okay.
Here.
Okay. Well, I like the Giants +4.
Giants.
Like you said, the Giants against the spread, Joe. You just gave me the analytics on it. I mean, they're good against the spread. They had coming off a big divisional win. Minnesota's defense still is very questionable, and I think the Giants will cover that 4 points in Minnesota.
Okay.
And then I got to go with the Browns dropping 2.5 against the Saints. It's high. It's expected to be 10 degrees and snow. So I think the Browns are built more for a cold weather game. The Saints are a dome team. And the Browns just came off a pretty big win over the Ravens. I like the Browns.
Yeah. And that over and under is 32. So, which is very strange.
We just got it. Some analytics came in from our producer that Chubbs is out.
Chubb is out.
But they got a good backup.
Okay.
And Myles Garrett's out too. So, I'm telling you, that could definitely hurt. Myles Garrett is definitely one of the better defensive players in the league.
New Orleans don't have anything, and they're going up there in Cleveland. Yeah. I don't see it. I don't see New Orleans doing anything.
I think it's going to be too cold. They're not, they're a dome team. But, it just seems like that NFC South, who knows what's going to happen? Well, you don't know what team you're going to get every week.
The only reason one of their teams won a game last week is because they were playing each other.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I'm surprised they didn't tie.
That's true.
So there were my picks, the big rich picks, 4-2 last week, and hopefully do better this week.
Gator, you got anything to add to that?
Okay. Well, one that I disagree with was when you're talking about the Giants in Minnesota. And the reason I like Minnesota, and he's correct about Minnesota's defense, so I agree with you 100% on that. But the Giants are going the wrong way. And I've been on their bandwagon for the last 3 weeks or whatever, and look at what they've done. Minnesota's going to be at home. Those fans base after that, I don't know. I think the fans are going to really help, and I would take the 3.5.
Well, the fans helped out in the second half last time. They had nothing to cheer about the first half against the Colts.
The other one I like is Denver has to go to the Rams. Now, I know the Rams are not playing that great, but neither is Denver. I don't see Denver going in there and winning that game. And they do have Denver at -1 is what I have it. But I think that
because Aaron Donald's probably out, and of course Matthew Stafford's done for the year. The offense line is banged up, but I thought, even in the loss on the Monday night game, I thought, Baker Mayfield played decent. And,
they showed a little life.
Showed a little bit of life, and so.
And the running game actually did a little bit too.
Right.
Cam Akers.
Oh, the Denver running game definitely came alive. I mean, I don't know if they have a good running game or if the Cardinals are just a horrible run defense.
They're just a horrible defense, period. The Cardinals.
Well, that was going to bring my next one up with that Tampa Bay and Arizona. I think I would just take the under. I don't really. What do you guys think? Because I really don't know about that.
Well, third string quarterback. We found out they
staying away from that.
And you got Tom, terrific, not terrific. But so it might be a good bet there.
Well, I like Arizona's defense. I think better than Tampa Bay's offense.
Okay,
but
okay. I don't know,
but that's really, I don't know. It's
one thing to watch. Is the reason I bet Cincinnati's so heavy is because what's the middle linebacker that was out? Is it Vila? Is it the middle linebacker? Yeah. The guy that broke his tooth last year, still played through it. And, we'll get it. Yeah, we'll just see. We'll get that from our producer in a little bit, but. He's a very, very good defensive player, and I think that might have made a difference in that game if they had him.
Yeah, you're so right.
All right, so I guess it's my turn. I was tired of going to 2-2 every week, so I made an extra pick thinking I would go at least 3-2 last week. Unfortunately, I went 2-3.
Oh,
That was my worst week in I don't know how long, 12 weeks, 13 weeks.
Right.
But still, over the last 13 weeks, I'm 34-18. That's 65%,
yeah.
even with that bad week.
It makes you a professional, Joe.
I wish I was. I mean, I am to a degree, I suppose.
Right.
This week,
That's
let's
right.
start. I'm going to have to go against you there, Big Rich. I'm taking Jacksonville +1. The momentum is definitely in Jacksonville's favor. And with Wilson playing as quarterback for the Jets,
So Gator, you got to be the deciding factor. Who's going to be the lone wolf out of us three?
Well, I'm always on that Jacksonville's running game. And to me, it is a pick 'em game. Yeah, you think that the Jets being at home, but I can't go against Jacksonville. I like Jacksonville. I think they're underrated.
Everybody wants them to
They're on
get
a
in.
roll.
I think they're underrated.
And that's
Yeah.
the Thursday game. So
So we're going to
it's
get
tomorrow.
there. Okay.
I also like Cincinnati minus what I thought was 3.5. You say it's 3 at New England for all the reasons you said. They've been on fire. You've been talking about how bad the Minnesota defense is. Well, I'm going with the Giants and Minnesota go over 48 points.
Okay.
And
So you're the lone wolf on this one, Gator.
yeah, and I'm also taking Pittsburgh -3 at home against Vegas. We were in pretty much agreement, and with the death of Franco Harris, I think is even more inspiration.
And Immaculate Reception, 50-year
That
anniversary. Sure.
So everyone should notice the majority of games are on Saturday, not Sunday. There are
Yes.
only 3 games on Christmas Sunday. So Saturday is like your normal football Sunday.
Yes.
So if you're doing Pick the Pros contest cards, you need to turn those in by 10 a.m. Saturday.
Yes.
So for all you wagering people out there, now we have to move on to college football. What were the big stories from last week?
Well, we are in the bowl season. So my picks went 2 and 3. I think with a lot of the analytics that Gator provided last week was very good. And actually went against my picks, and that's probably why I was 2 and 3. My first losing week in quite some time doing college football. So I started out the bowl season 2 and 3 against the spread. So let's move on to this week. We have news from the Alabama Crimson Tide. Bryce Young, Will Anderson, and Jamar Gibbs all say, I'm putting the helmet on. They're 2 of those guys are definitely top 10 picks for the NFL draft. No financial reason to play at all. If you're declaring for the draft, I mean, what do you think, Joe? Joe, you said last week you said you should play for your team.
Absolutely. And looking last year, Jameson Williams got hurt, and he still got picked in number 12 out of the entire draft by the Lions.
Okay.
So I don't think it's going to be as bad for those guys because of how good they already are.
And there's a lot of times you can take. I remember with I think it was Matt Leiner from USC.
Yeah.
When he came back his last year with Reggie Bush, he took an insurance policy out.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take an insurance policy out, and if you don't get hurt, you pay your whatever it is, and the people that are put their insurance, like they would cover the million. So
And he did enroll. He took his one class was ballroom dancing, and he had already graduated.
Yes,
and he got to enjoy his last year on campus.
He would have been a top 10 quarterback, and I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I'm glad to see him play, but I can see every reason why not to play financially for these kids. So, moving on to the bowls this week, Gator, we have the Armed Forces Bowl. Baylor is at Air Force. I think the Baylor and the Big 12 is a more strong team, and I think the Baylor's played some really good games. So I'm going to stay Baylor. What do you have for me?
Okay. Well, I have Air Force has covered the 3 consecutive bowl games, and Air Force has gone under the total in the last 5 of their last 6 games.
They are 20-10-1 against the spread as an underdog since the start of the 2014 season. The numbers actually say Air Force there, but Baylor is 17-9 against the spread in the month of November or later since the start of the 18 season. There are contradictory numbers there.
Right. But if you saw Baylor play Kansas, and if you saw Baylor play it was a TCU in their final game,
right? They
look strong against the run. And you know that Air Force can have that triple option. I think the under is a great bet.
That's what I think too.
But if I had to make a pick, I'm going to take Baylor.
Okay.
Okay, let's move to the Independence Bowl. Houston -6.5 against the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana. I'd like the Houston Cougars. I'm going to drop the 6.5. What do you say? What do the numbers say there?
Well, Houston is 1-7 against the spread as a favorite this season.
That's not good.
That's not good.
Houston is 9-2-1 to the over this season, the highest over percentage in the FBS.
Well, that might be the play right there.
Mm-hmm. All four of Houston's non-conference games went over the total this season.
Wow.
And one thing for Louisiana is that they're 14-7 against the spread as underdogs over the past 5 years. Seasons.
How about that?
So the analytics say take the dog.
That's what they say.
Okay.
All right.
We like the under in that. We like the over in that game. And we like the under in the first game. I think we're in agreement to that.
Okay.
All right. So there's not very many games. There's only 3 games. We're gonna have a lot of NFL football. So the next week we'll do our Tuesday and Wednesday games since we do the show on Wednesday. The Guaranteed Rate Bowl. I'm taking Oklahoma State plus the 3.5 against Wisconsin. Their offense has been in shambles all year. Oklahoma State, I'm sticking with the Big 12 having a big bowl season. I'll take Oklahoma State.
Okay. Well, Oklahoma State has covered each of its last 6 bowl games, tied with Navy for the longest active bowl coverage streak in the FBS. Oklahoma State is 14-5 against the spread as underdogs over the past 5 seasons. Oklahoma State is 16-2 against the spread in games off more than 6 days of rest over the past 6 seasons. And one thing for Wisconsin has failed to cover in 3 consecutive games.
How about that?
So looks like
a winner.
Looks like a winner. We'll see. Let's go to the Military Bowl. Duke's -3 at UCF. I think the ACC with Wake Forest and Clemson, high scoring thing. I'm going to drop the 3. Duke's defense is very susceptible, but I think I'm going to take Duke -3.
Okay. Well, UCF is 5-0 against the spread under Goose. How do you say Malzahn? Malzahn. When the line is between +3 and -3, so when it's close. They're 4-0 against the spread this season. So that's UFC. Duke is also 3-0 against the spread in that role since the start of last season.
Okay.
Duke has covered 5 straight bowl games, and 6 straight Duke bowl games have gone over the total. That's a good one.
That's we like the over, yeah.
And Duke has covered 3 straight, while UFC is 0-3 in their last 3 games.
Yeah, they had a pretty rough run.
Okay. And you're liking Duke.
I'm liking Duke.
All right.
All right, let's go to the Liberty Bowl. This is one I'm very heavy on. Arkansas -3 against Kansas. Kansas cannot stop the run. Arkansas has a great running game. I think that with the SEC and the powerful games, the teams that they have in there, I'm going to take Arkansas, dropping the 3. I'm not sold on the Kansas defense. They got bullied against multiple teams in the Big 12. I'm taking Arkansas.
Did they get their starting quarterback back for the bowl game?
Good question.
That is a good question for Kansas. Yeah, it was something we'd have to get back to. We get our producer on that. We just got it that the Tampa Bay Vita Vea has a calf strain and he's questionable this week, so we have to watch that. The Tampa Bay one,
another injury,
the one we have to talk about. Yeah, but the quarterback is good. The backup quarterback is good. Also, it's still good for Kansas. He started. Yes. He's the fastest guy on the team. But I don't think that. I think the running game, they're not going to be able to control the running game of Arkansas.
Okay. 12 of Arkansas's last 13 bowl games went under the total since 2000.
Wow.
This is Kansas's first bowl appearance since 2008. Now, the Jayhawks have covered 3 straight bowl games.
But that's been so long.
Yeah.
That's not much of a factor.
That's 2008.
And one other thing, Kansas is 0-4 against the spread the last 4 times it has been an underdog.
So when they're supposed to lose, they lose.
And they don't cover.
They don't cover.
Okay, I got one more. The Holiday Bowl. This is the one we have North Carolina, Oregon. North Carolina, 5 of their games have been over 70 points total. Wow. So that's a tough one, but it's 73. And I'm just going to have to take the under on that. I think Oregon could probably maybe run the ball and keep the ball away from that high scoring offense of Mac Brown's Carolina Tar Heels. If I would have to take, it's 14.5 points. So, I mean,
that's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points, and they can score some points. So if I had to take, I would take the points, but I definitely like the under 73.
All right.
Oregon is 7-2-1 against the spread as favorites this season, and they've covered 5 of their last 6.
Okay.
And
Helps to explain the spread.
Good.
Yeah.
Sure. Now, entering the season, North Carolina's largest underdog role in any bowl game since the 1978 FCS.
Split.
A split.
Is the football conference and the football bowl
Plus 10.
Yeah. Plus, go ahead.
It's the largest they've been an underdog all season and in a bowl since 78. So that is a lot of points.
Sure is.
And they haven't really been covering lately either. They haven't covered their last 3 games.
No, North Carolina is 0-3 against the spread in their last 3 games.
Yes. Is there more?
No.
That's it on that. Not
Okay.
a whole lot of stats on that.
Just the other thing I want to mention on college football as we move on. As you know, DJ Ugalalele, he is in the portal, and something you might want to look. His brother, Matayo Ugalalele, is an outside linebacker and a edge rusher. And USC wanted him real bad. As you know, USC lacks in the defense.
They want everybody.
And Ohio State wanted him, but he committed to the Ducks. So let's just see if maybe that might be where DJ's brother's going too. That could be a possible. They do have Bo Nix there. I don't know if he has another year of eligibility. But we have to know Deion Sanders, both Schroeder and Shiloh, his sons, are going to Colorado with daddy. So
what a surprise.
What a surprise. And I'm pretty sure that Shiloh will be the starting quarterback of, your dad's the coach. I mean,
that was set in stone before. That was already talked about before they even hired him.
right. So
For sure. So, okay. As far as my picks, I went 1-1. Not bad. But after looking at what the stats that, yes, we do have the starting quarterback for Kansas is going to start the regular one.
Jaden Daniels is going to start.
Okay.
Jaden Daniels. So he will start. He's a good quarterback, but I'm saying is they're not going to be able to stop the run.
Okay. So after looking at these wonderful stats, we just saw right there, Houston over. I like that. Oklahoma State and Duke. Those 3 picks look pretty strong. At least history says so. Yes. And I will say one final note in college, Sonny Dykes, head coach for TCU, won the AP Coach of the Year.
Well deserved.
And that was the correct vote, without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
So good for them. So Gator, soccer's World Cup has come to a close. What were the results? In case you haven't seen.
Well, we had the 3rd place game. It was between Morocco and Croatia. Croatia won that game 2-1. And the big one was Argentina and France, and Argentina won it in penalty kicks 4-3.
Yep. Argentina was 6-1 to win the tournament, one of the favorites, and came through. And that was a pretty amazing game, wouldn't you say?
I thought so, Joe. I thought it was great. Argentina was up 2-0.
It's an early game. It was some. We got to me and our host Joe. We were able to watch that at the casino here, and it was such a great atmosphere. It was like you were at the game. It was the most watched game, right? I mean, the audience was 10 times more than the Super Bowl throughout the world.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
So.
Just an unbelievable game. Argentina up 2-0. France ties it. Then both teams score in extra time and go into penalty kicks. That's Lionel Messi's last international game for Argentina. France, unfortunately, lost 6 key players on all 3 levels of their team due to injury. And that's probably why they lost. If they
were
their
also sick too. They were also sick the day before.
Okay. Kylian Mbappe.
It was a great game. Just you got to admit, it was just good to watch it. I'm not a big soccer fan, but I thought it was. I enjoyed it. I appreciate you guys explaining the betting as you would have. If you would have bet Argentina, you would have lost because it went to a tie. Is that correct?
Yes, and we had problems with that. People having Argentina was in the 90th minute and it was a tie.
Right. People trying to cash in some tickets and there were losers.
Kylian Mbappe
should have been listening to us. We're trying to give you some information here.
Kylian Mbappe scored 8 goals. He won the Golden Boot Award. 9-1 odds on him. And the next World Cup is U.S., Canada, and Mexico in 2026. So that will be very much a big deal around here. So, Gator, what's been happening in the National Hockey League?
Well, I want to give thanks to Carlos and you, Joe, first let me do that World Cup and doing the special. I really had a blast, and I just thank you so much for letting me do that.
Well, it was a great tournament.
Yeah, well, every 4 years. I want it next year. But anyways, okay, so let's go to hockey, Joe. Hockey, well, biggest news to me, Joe, is that Ovechkin did not score from Wednesday to Wednesday.
Yes, going for the record.
Well, he's trying to tie Gordie Howe. He'll be at 801 goals. And of course, Gretzky's at 894.
He's got a ways to go to Gretzky.
Mm-hmm.
But Gordie Howe, number 2 on the list.
So went 7-3 last week, Joe.
Well, Gator, who's hot and who's not?
Oh, let me go there first. Okay, so let's go with hot. Pittsburgh's 8-1,
right,
in their last 9. The Rangers and Washington are both 7-1 in their last 8. But we do have Carolina sitting at 6-0, and Minnesota is at 5-0.
Okay, and who is not?
Okay, well, New Jersey Devils, Joe, 0-6.
What a start, and now they're choking it off.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened. I did see one game that they went into overtime and lost, but I don't know, Joe. Actually, that went into a penalty. That went into a shootout. But Detroit 0-6, Chicago 0-7, Columbus 0-5. A lot of O's there.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. And Nashville 1-6 in their last 7.
Okay.
So a lot of
stay away from those guys. Stay away from them.
Okay. Well, your picks went 7-3 last week. That puts you at 72-32 for the season. That's 69%.
I'll take it.
The Gator line.
There are no games Saturday, Sunday, or Monday.
Correct.
Because of Christmas. What are your predictions for next week?
Okay, Joe. Well, on Thursday, I have 2. I have Toronto's going to be hosting Philadelphia. I'm going to take Toronto. And Minnesota is actually going to be at San Jose, and San Jose is playing a little bit better, but I'm going to take Minnesota, Joe. Now on Friday, we have I have 3 games. We have Colorado is going to be at Nashville. I'm going to take Colorado. Dallas is going to be hosting Montreal. I'm going to have to take Dallas on that. And Vegas is going to be hosting St. Louis, and I'm going to have to take Vegas on that, Joe.
Okay.
Now,
after the break?
Yeah, and after the break, we have 5 games that I'm picking on Tuesdays, just to round this off to 10, but I think they're very decent games. Got Carolina over Chicago. Boston is going to be at Ottawa, and Ottawa is just not playing that great, so I'm going to take Boston. Dallas is going to be at Nashville, and I'm going to go against Nashville again. And Colorado is going to be at Arizona. Now, it seems like Arizona's playing a little better at home, but I still got to take Colorado. And my last one, Joe, I got Vancouver over San Jose. That game is in Vancouver. San Jose is playing a little better, but I'm taking Vancouver.
All right.
With those Colorado picks, McKinnon's still out, correct?
Mm-hmm.
He'll be out probably for another month, and probably at least 2 weeks. 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I'm not sure. I don't take a lot of stock in when they say times in hockey.
Because hockey guys are tough.
Well, yeah, they'll say he's out for a month and he's back in a week. That happens so much. So it's really hard for me to believe.
Okay.
Well, we look forward to seeing how you do on those picks. So, Big Rich, what's the news from the NBA?
Well, I'm saying that the big news is Steph Curry is going to be out till January 16th. So obviously the basketball players, I'm going to take stock in it, saying he's not going to play till January 16th. Wow. At least he's out for the Warriors, and the Warriors are not hot. They are definitely not. 4-6 in their last 10 games.
How about on the road? I think they've only won like 2 or 3 games all year. I mean, and then they play the Nets tonight, and I love the Nets -12. They played the 76ers. And they were -10, and they do not have Thompson tonight either. Oh.
So they're not good. And I think Draymond Green, he has an illness, so he'll probably play. But still, the Nets are hot. They have won their last 6, and they're 9-1 in their last 10.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So the Nets are doing good, and that's a solid bet giving up that 12 points. Okay. I think that unless Jordan Poole score 75. But anyway, 76ers have won 5. So the Sixers are moving up. They're 7-3 in their last 10. And the Knicks have won 8 in a row. So they're the beast of the East. So you got some really good teams. Miami's starting to come up. They're 6-4, and they're a half game behind Atlanta. In the West, the Nuggets and the Grizzlies are the team to watch. The Grizzlies are 7-3 in their last 10, and the Nuggets had a really big game last night, beating the Grizzlies. So it was a big win for them, and Djokovic had a triple-double. Okay. So that's the trends in the NBA.
Okay. And I guess we should cover college basketball. What's going on there?
All right, college basketball. We're looking at the Purdue Boilermakers are up top again this week. They won their 2 games. Virginia lost 2 games last week. They were the number 2. They lost to Houston. Houston is a very, very good team. They did have their 1 loss to Alabama. And then Virginia also lost at Miami. And Miami's one of those teams in the top 25 now, and they're good at home. And they won 66-64. They were up by 10 points, and Virginia made a really good comeback. They got it down to 2, and then Miami pulled away at home. So watch Miami at home if you're going to make your wagers. UConn moves all the way up to number 2. They're 13-0. They've had some pretty big wins against Alabama, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Oregon, and at Florida and at Butler. They won in double digits on the road. So they're a good team, and they're number 2. And then Houston has moved. They're moving that back up. They're with their 1 loss, they're number 3. Kansas is number 4.
Defending champion.
And number 5 is Arizona, and they beat Indiana by 14 at Indiana last week. So there's something to watch. Like you said, they're not going to have any college basketball games the same way. I think it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, no games. I think it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, no top 25 games. The only one I'm going to take is Illinois does play Missouri. Missouri is 10-1, and the spread is not out on that. I suspect it'll probably be around 5 or 6. Illinois is a very good 8-3 team. Take Illinois at home.
I did also notice UCLA playing well the last week.
Yes, they did go to Kentucky, and they won by about 6 points. It wasn't double digits, but they definitely were in command of that game. They're one of those hot streak, they're either hot or, you got to watch them, but they only have 2 losses, and they moved, I think, to the top 10.
Okay. Well, I'll just run through some Major League Baseball news. Shortstop Carlos Correa is not going to be playing for the Giants after all. Something went wrong with his physical, apparently. Now he's being signed by the New York Mets. And the salary cap is $293 million. The Mets payroll is now over $380 million. So they are way over the cap. Owner Steve Cohen, he's going to have to pay $100 million in luxury taxes alone.
Wow.
Yes, because the salary cap is not a true cap in baseball. You can go over as much as you want. You just pay the other teams, especially like Oakland and Pittsburgh. You give them money because they need it.
And as they're talking about that, Carlos, also is like it's like $800 million in NFL of unpaid contracts. I mean, it's crazy that much money they're paying, firing people and just giving them their money. So an astronomical amount.
As far as San Francisco is concerned, they picked up nobody in the offseason. That was supposed to be their big pickup. They lost starting pitcher Carlos Rodon to the New York Yankees. So I don't know what they're doing over there. In other moves, Chicago Cubs got shortstop Dansby Swanson from Atlanta. Yes. The Boston Red Sox got third baseman Justin Turner from the Dodgers. But the Dodgers did sign Boston's outfielder J.D. Martinez.
Yes.
So
him and Mookie Betts are back together. And you remember how good they played together. So that might be something to watch.
Be something there. The baseball, that Yankee Aaron Judge hit for his historic 60-second home run this year went on auction. Sold for, drumroll, $1.5 million at auction.
Oh, wow. That was one lucky catch in the outfield. That guy in Texas who got the ball. Yeah. You see the guy that jumped out of the stadium trying to get the ball. He jumped off the wall to get it, hoping he dropped it.
There you go.
For $1 million, I guess I'd get thrown out of the baseball game, make a chance.
And one sad note, Tom Browning, who threw a perfect game in 1988 for the Reds, passed away at the age of 62. And now we get to the segment where we talk about the bets that we thought for sure were winners, but at the end, something went terribly wrong, and those bets ended up being losers. It's a segment we affectionately call You Got Hose.
You Got Hose.
Gator, do you have a You Got Hose story for this week?
Yeah, Thursday, Joe, Anaheim and Montreal were playing each other in hockey, and the over and under, and some of the books were at 6.5, and some of them were at 6. But going into the third period, Anaheim was up 2-0. But there was 5 goals scored in that game, Joe, and 2 of them were empty netters to make it 7 goals. But the first empty netter came with 18:32 left, and the second one came at 19:51.
Yeah.
Or
18:32.
Yes.
Right. A minute and a half left. And the other one with just 8 seconds left.
So I would say that if you had the under in that game, you got hosed.
Yes. 2 empty netters. That doesn't happen terribly often.
Not often.
No.
You got a story for us?
Well, I think anybody that took Jonathan Taylor on their fantasy team goes out in the first quarter and gets 2 fantasy points, and then right after that, they scored 3 running touchdowns, and unbelievable. If you had them on your team, I'm sure you got hosed if your fantasy team. And what about that guy on the what was his name? Gator, Green Bay, the running back Jones. Robert Jones was just 2 inches away from scoring a touchdown. If you had him, and you would have hit the over.
That actually happened in our fantasy.
Yeah, and so that it was under was 39.5, and it was at 39, so he was an inch away from going over. And
last Thursday, the over when the 49ers ran to the 1 yard line with 1 minute left and got knocked out of bounds, that would have been the over second half.
Sure.
And then they kneel on it, of course.
Joe, do you have you got a story for us?
Well, my You Got Host story is that Las Vegas New England football game last Sunday, and much has been said about that ridiculous lateral play during the final seconds. But 30 seconds earlier, the Raiders' Keelan Cole scored that touchdown to tie the game. Should have never counted. Keelan Cole's second foot landed out of bounds in the end zone on the game-tying catch. And because of that touchdown, they wouldn't even got to overtime. And then you throw in that, or the very end of the game where it looked like it was going to go to overtime. And then the lateral play, if you had New England plus the 2 points, you got hosed twice.
Yes.
Well, Joe, one of our listeners, Mike, he actually put $10 on a 5-teamer at the Analysist and put the same $5 on the ticket over at William Hill. So he had $20 in on it, and he would have won $728. But he did have the Chargers minus 2.5, the Bengals minus 3.5, the Broncos minus 2.5, and the Giants at plus 4. All 4 of those hit, but he did have the Pats at a pick 'em. So I'm sorry, Mike, that you got hosed.
Mike, you got hosed, man. Sorry.
You got hosed.
Well, that's it for the show. I'd like to thank Big Richard Martin, Gator Gates, all our contributors, our editor, producer, and engineer, Cornelius, and all you listeners out there. And next week, we look forward to bringing you another episode of Covering the Field.
You've been listening to Covering the Field. Email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com for all your comments or questions. Find us on Twitter @CoveringField. And of course, always check out the website for our picks of the week and updated articles. coveringthefield.com.